House will come to order. Introduction of bills. Following House files have been offered for introduction today. The Chief Clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 2716 through 2720.
First reading, House Files 2716 through 2720. First bill on the calendar of the day is Senate File 514. Clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 514, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to elections, the fifth engrossment.
Recognize the author, member from Washington, Representative Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Before I introduce the bill, I would like to move the DE3 amendment to get the bill in the proper shape.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Fenton moves to amend Senate File number 514, the fifth engrossment as amended, and the amendment is coded DE3.
I recognize the member from Washington, Representative Fenton, to introduce her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Minnesota has had a long history of working together, working across the aisle for reforms that improve the integrity of our election process. And this bill is a perfect example of that tradition. This DE amendment is the result of working with all of the stakeholders for common sense election reform that will garner broad bipartisan support. I'm going to just give you a brief overview of some of the main key points in this bill. Number one, we've worked with the Secretary of State. This has the Secretary of State's technical corrections bill. This provides for 5 uniform special election days, the second Tuesday in February, in April, in May, in August, or the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. It provides a deadline for voter registration data uploads from county auditors to the Secretary of State's office so that work is done in a timely manner. It's individual county appointments of recorders or auditor treasurers for 6 various counties. It adds tribal councils to the list of elected offices for which an employee of certain local units of government can take an unpaid leave of absence to serve. So with that, that's some of the main key points of this the DE, and with that, I think there's some other amendments, but I'd like to move to approve this. Thank you.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Joachim moves to amend the Fenton amendment to Senate File number 514, the fifth engrossment. The amendment to the amendment is coded A3.
I call upon the member from Hennepin, Representative Joachim, to introduce her amendment to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The A3 amendment that we have before us allows for early voting 15 days before the general election. We've all seen the popularity of the in-person absentee voting that we had last election cycle, and this is the next logical step. This amendment would authorize counties to offer early voting opportunities for the 15 days preceding an election. 17 states already actually allow early voting, while additional states, including Minnesota, allow early voting as part of an absentee ballot process. Under current law, during the 7 days preceding an election, citizens may cast an in-person absentee ballot by completing a paper application for an absentee ballot, having the local election official verify that information, and then handing the voter a ballot. They can then fill that ballot out and put that ballot in the tabulator. This amendment would simply allow a person to come into City Hall or a designated county office, sign their name in the poll book, and or go through the same process that they would do on election day. After an election judge or clerk verified the poll book, they would receive a ballot, fill it out, and be able to put it right in the tabulator like they currently can the 7 days before an election. So it just changes the 7 days to the 15 days. We really do want to provide more opportunities, as many opportunities as possible for citizens to exercise their legal right to vote. Many Minnesotans have numerous demands and commitments of their time between family and work and school, It's not always possible for all citizens to take time out of their lives on one specific day to participate in our democracy. We have the ability to expand opportunities for voting to more days in this amendment. It's a win for the voters who are unable to find the time to vote on one specific day, and it's also a win for the voters who do opt to vote on election day because the lines will be shorter. The process could also cut down on the cost and staff time that comes with processing the absentee ballots, and I would ask you to please vote yes.
Discussion to the amendment. Representative Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is something very similar that we did have in the House version of the bill, but in an effort to have broad bipartisan support, we did have to take it out, and I ask members that you vote no so this bill can move, garner the broad bipartisan support needed to continue to move on. Thank you.
Further discussion to the A3 amendment to the amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Motion does not prevail. There's another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Schultz moves to amend the Fenton Amendment to Senate File number 514, the fifth engrossment as amended, and the amendment to the amendment is coded A4.
I call upon the member from St. Louis, Representative Schultz, to introduce her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment allows individuals to have their information automatically sent to the Secretary of State and election officials, so it's the automatic voter registration amendment. And this has been passed by 8 other states, many on a bipartisan fashion. 26 other states are currently looking at legislation to do something similar. And instead of an opt-in, which we have now, it would be an opt-out process when you go in to apply for a driver's license or change your address. So I want everyone, I hope, to vote yes on this. I have received 0 calls or contacts opposing this bill, the original bill. I have seen tremendous support for this across the state of Minnesota. I know my colleagues have received a lot of emails and have asked me what House File 245 was, and this is that amendment. So please vote for this amendment. It increases the efficiency of voter registration. It reduces costs. It makes it more convenient. It improves the accuracy of information. It cleans up voter rolls. And it is what is in the best interest of Minnesotans. So please vote yes, and I'd like to request a roll call vote, Mr. Speaker.
Roll call being requested, and seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Further discussion. Representative Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members, and Representative Schultz, I thank you for bringing this forth. As you did mention, we already have an opt-in process. Members, I'm going to ask that you vote no on this amendment. Thank you.
Further discussion. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the amendment. Got her honor. What do you vote? Friends votes no. Clerk will close the roll. There being 53 ayes and 77 nays, the amendment is not adopted. There's another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Joachim moves to amend the Fenton Amendment to Senate File number 514, the fifth engrossment. The amendment to the amendment is coded A5.
Call upon the member from Hennepin, Representative Joachim, to
Thank you, Mr.
introduce.
Speaker. Actually, this amendment would have done what we had already in the House version of the bill, 46 days early voting, but I'm going to withdraw the amendment. Thank you.
Representative Joachim withdraws the amendment. There's another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Halverson moves to amend the Fenton Amendment to Senate File Number 514, the fifth engrossment. The amendment to the amendment is coded A2.
I'll call upon the member from Dakota, Representative Halverson, to introduce her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this amendment is something that we've seen before. It is the amendment to finally shine the light on dark money in the state of Minnesota. And as Representative Fenton indicated, we have a great tradition in Minnesota with regard to our election policy, and we have always, our governors have asked in the past several years for us to find broad bipartisan support. And so it's made us work really hard together to make sure that we're working to create an election system that works for all Minnesotans.
Mr. Speaker.
Representative Driscoll, for what purpose do you rise?
I rise to a point of order, please.
State your point of order.
Mr. Speaker, according to House Rule 3.21, motions and propositions need to be germane to the amendment. I am prepared to offer advice, Mr. Speaker.
State your advice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This amendment, the A2 amendment, is coded or primarily vetted in statute in Chapter 10A, and there are no references or any other kinds of discussions on campaign finance, campaign disclosures that are found in this particular bill, that is, or the DE3 amendment that is before us today. It's primarily vetted in the 200 chapter, which is the election law, and that is the purpose of this bill. Mr. Speaker, I ask that you find the point of order and the advice well taken. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Halverson.
Advice, Mr. Speaker.
State your advice.
Well, we are dealing with the Omnibus elections bill, and elections don't happen without campaigns. And Minnesotans have asked us repeatedly, as their elected leaders, to find common ground about how we can make the elections about our communities and about the people that we are serving, and not about large corporate outside interests from the state of Minnesota and outside interests from here. And so as we look at the Omnibus Elections Bill, and as our governors have asked us to find common ground and to find broad bipartisan support, the people of Minnesota have been very clear. They are asking us to take a stand against dark, hidden money in our elections and campaigns, so when they go to the polls, they can make decisions based on their communities without undue influence, undue misinformation from outside sources. So this is yet another chance, folks, for you guys to do the right thing and be a voice for your constituents when it comes to elections. We're accountable to the people of Minnesota. Those large outside donors are not. Let's make an election system that works for the people of Minnesota. There's no reason that this should not have broad bipartisan support. Mr. Speaker, this is an elections issue.
Representative Nelson.
Advice.
State your advice.
Mr. Speaker, and as Representative Halverson said, this is an elections bill. This is the Omnibus elections bill. And if financing campaigns is a big part of elections, and because of that, this should be included as part of the bill. So it's elections and election bills. It's all the same thing.
Members, I've studied the amendment. I have reviewed the bill. I have considered the advice of O'Driscoll, Halverson, and Nelson, and I am ruling that the point of order is well taken.
No further amendments at the desk?
There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 5. Oh, we didn't adopt the amendment yet. We got to adopt the amendment. Question on the Fenton amendment.
Question on the Fenton amendment. Any further discussion?
No, she didn't.
All those in favor of adoption of the DE3 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion prevails. There being no further amendments at the desk of clerk, now we'll give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 514, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. The member from Relax, Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Representative Sundin yield to a question?
He will. Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Sundin, you know, I spoke briefly to you about your bill that I thought was going to be on the House floor earlier about allowing tribal council members the same amenities that we have, for example. So my question is, why are these sections needed now in our elections bill?
Member from Carleton, Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, this section was needed a long time ago to afford the same privileges to people that serve tribal councils, and I believe they should be entitled to the same privileges as people that in this body actually enjoy as well.
Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would he continue to yield?
He will yield. Representative Erickson.
Representative Sundin, does our definition of public include tribally elected officials?
Representative Sundin.
3.088.
Upon adoption of this language, it certainly will.
Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr.
Erickson.
Speaker. Thank you. Will he continue to yield?
He will yield.
Thank you. Well, does that mean that tribal council members now will be subject to Minnesota election law?
Representative Sundin.
I really can't answer that. I don't have any knowledge of their election rules within tribal entities.
Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, members, I think we need to think carefully about the ramifications of this change in law. Because remember, our tribal councils are part of sovereign nations, and they have their own laws in place, and they elect their members according to those laws, not Minnesota law. So I foresee that we could now start controlling tribal council elections because they're going to be part of our election law. Are they going to be subject to campaign finance? That would be one important question for us to consider. So, members, I just want you to be thinking about the extent of this change in law because we are now subjecting tribal council members to Minnesota election law, and I'm not sure that's what sovereign nations are expecting. I know they've said this is fine, but, you know, as I think about it, I'm just wondering if this is fine. So just something for you to think about. As I told Representative Sundin, I could not vote for this proposal when it came to the floor before it was pulled, and I cannot vote for this election bill because I think we are treading on territory that's going to have some repercussions that at least tribes are not going to like.
Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In response, I would just say that municipal elections have different rules than county elections. County elections have different rules than fire district elections. And they all are different from our state elections as well. But I just think it's wrong-headed of us to not include the tribal councils in on the same privileges that we all enjoy. Some teachers actually do enjoy the protections of this law. Some firefighters, some law enforcement people enjoy the benefits of this law. And I think we could also include the original Minnesotans in this law. Thank you.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm wondering if Representative Erickson would yield for a question. Representative Erickson, are there any tribal governments located in your district?
Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, the Mille Lacs Band, but I haven't heard from them in regard to this issue.
Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you yield for another question?
She will yield.
Have you put any effort into reaching out to consult with the Mille Lacs Band about this amendment and any concerns they might have?
Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, at a recent meeting, in fact, it was just about a week ago, I contacted the county administrator who was attending a meeting with tribal officials, and it was brought up, and so that's the extent to which I had communication, because I was concerned and they were concerned, and so I think they brought it up to the tribal lawyers who were at the meeting.
Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just encourage members, if you have concerns about the ramifications of this amendment as far as it's concerned to tribal council members. Many of us have tribal governments in your districts, and you can reach out to those tribal council members and ask them directly what they think about this provision. It's not necessary to interact with another government via a third government. Our tribal nations are dependent nations. We have every ability and right to reach out to them directly if you have questions about this amendment and how that would affect our tribal council members. Thanks.
The member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Again, we have an elections bill. And again, we are not moving towards full HAVA compliance. 97% of the people that live in the United States live where no one is denied a ballot. They can walk in and cast a ballot, and that ballot, if there's a challenge, an issue, a question, becomes a provisional ballot. And frankly, that assures accessibility, but it also ensures the integrity of the system. And Minnesota is one of 3 states that's given an exemption, and using the 2010 census is where I get the greater than 97%, so it's off of a government source. And frankly, the U.S. Supreme Court in 2008, Crawford versus Marion County Election Board, Supreme Justice Stevens wrote the majority opinion, and in there he in several locations references that there has been historic and current fraud, which does have the effect on a close race. In Minnesota, we've had many close races where a few hundred votes matter. In fact, in one of those races, we had thousands of people that weren't eligible to voted, and we had many felony convictions. But he also said, Justice Stevens, the availability of the right to cast a provisional ballot provides an adequate remedy. And at some point, Minnesota needs to step up and be HAVA compliant and give this remedy, which gives us both the freedom that you can come in and cast your ballot and the integrity that that ballot will not be counted before the question is resolved.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. And I wasn't going to get up and talk about what Representative Quam talked about, but there's, I don't know where he's getting his evidence from. I know that the Franken-Coleman election, that there were people that actually were looking and they recounted them looking for fraud, and some of the people for Coleman's campaign, the attorney said, we looked for fraud and didn't find it, so I don't know where he's getting his record to say there's fraud. And the other point about provisional balloting, the reason why we're one of 3 states that doesn't have to provide provisional balloting is because we have same-day registration. Provisional balloting is for someone who thought they were registered and they come to the polls and they're not on the list of people that are registered. It gives them the opportunity to cast a ballot. In Minnesota, because you can register on election day and vote that time, that is why we don't have a provisional balloting. But Mr. Speaker, the reason I got up and to speak was that this is a good bill. I think it would have been a better bill if a couple of the amendments had gone on, but I understand that the agreements that were made and that this was worked out, and some of the stuff that was in the Senate bill that a lot of members on our side of the aisle couldn't stand for, and probably if they were in the bill would have got the governor's disapproval of it, are gone. So this is a reasonably good bill, and it's got, I think it could have strong bipartisan support. And members, I think we should all vote green on this bill.
The member from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I need to rise and address the charges that were leveled against Minnesota's election system by Representative Quam. The citation that there were 1,000 or so felons who were on probation who voted illegally is absolutely false. What happens in our election system, most of it happens behind the scenes, folks. So I hear all these charges that in some way that our election system is vulnerable to people who want to impersonate voters. That has been studied and proven false. I heard charges that there are people who are voting when they are not eligible to vote. We have an extensive audit system in the state of Minnesota. We are also the land of 10,000 Nelsons.
Representative Halverson, if we could quiet down a little bit, thank you.
Thank you. And those of us with very common names could have had a situation where we could be confused with somebody else. And so all of those situations, if there is a chance that somebody voted illegally in the state of Minnesota, are researched and studied by county prosecutors, and there is a decision whether or not to bring charges. And very quickly, the incidents that Representative Quam brought forward were very quickly discovered to be not cases of ineligible voting. However, that statistic still gets thrown around as a way to impugn the voting system of the state of Minnesota. Minnesota had one of the nation's highest visibility recounts in the history of the country. And our election system came out looking strong. Observers from both sides of the aisle, state and nationally, said the checks in the Minnesota state election system to ensure that who you are and where you live are clearly documented and able to be researched are in place. There are many checks that happen in this system. And do you know what happens if somebody does vote when they're not eligible to vote? If somebody does cast an illegal ballot? They are found out and they are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and they are prosecuted under a felony prosecution. Our laws in Minnesota are strong, and we stand here today to make them stronger, to make sure that our election system continues to be the best in the nation, and that we continue to be able to continue to have our bragging rights of having the highest voter turnout in the nation. I'm grateful for the civic participation of our state. I'm grateful to be raised in a state that values the voice of its citizens. So to impugn our system with evidence that has proven to be false is inappropriate, and I really ask people to be careful when they impugn what I think is one of the strongest systems in the nation. And to that end, I really want to thank Representative Fenton for her hard work, all the members of the Government Operations and Elections Committee this year for the work that we did together. Representative Fenton did work hard to find common ground. That's not an easy task up here. Everybody knows it. And so I definitely encourage members to vote green and continue to build on our grand election tradition in Minnesota. Thanks.
The member from Anoka, Minority Leader Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to compliment Representative Fenton on her work of getting bipartisan agreement on this bill. I really appreciated the speech that you made when you introduced your bill and you talked about how hard you worked to make sure that this wouldn't be a partisan bill. And that is not an easy task, and thank you.
The member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. As the chair of the Government Operations and Elections Committee here in the House, I want to thank Representative Nelson and the DFL team, partisan staff with the DFL, and the nonpartisan staff, the members from the GOP side, Vice Chair Pugh, and I also want to extend an extremely grateful appreciation to Representative Fenton. We had a policy in our committee, what is it going to be this year to be able to be successful, and I worked with every member as best I could to be able to have them experience success, and Representative Fenton asked to carry the elections bill. I think she's done better than a yeoman's job. For those of you who are in the Navy who know what a yeoman is, Representative Fenton has done more than a yeoman's job on this. And I encourage each and every one of you today to vote yes for this bipartisan 2017 Omnibus Elections bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member from Washington, Representative Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members, and I don't want to close this out without, as you know, it is a lot of work when you are trying to find compromise language in which you can garner the broad bipartisan support. It was important to me that this not be just a party line bill. And so in all of working with all of the stakeholders and going back and forth, two people put in countless hours to make sure this bill was in the best possible shape so that not only passes this body, but passes our other body with broad bipartisan support to go on to the governor. And with that, I want to thank our reviser, Matt Gehring, and staffer I worked with, Amanda Tinsley, for all of the back and forth. This bill is supported by the Secretary of State's office, the League of Minnesota Cities, the Association of Minnesota Counties, the Minnesota Association of County Officers, Minnesota Association of Townships, and many more. And I urge a green vote today, and I thank you for your support.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 5 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The member from Morrison, Representative Creasure, what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rise to move a recess for approximately 60 minutes or the call of the chair. And GOP members, please watch your email in case we caucus.
Representative Creasure, Representative Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Creasure, would you yield to a question?
He will yield. Representative Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Krisha, can you tell us what you're waiting for before we come back in? Are we ready to take up the Legacy Conference Committee report? Are we waiting on the Senate to pass some bills? Can you give us an idea so that members can plan accordingly?
Representative Krisha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Portman. We are waiting to just complete some final bills, and I don't have all the specifics yet, but as soon as we get those complete, we can get those up on the House floor.
Representative Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Krisha, I know that there are a number of members who have families with celebrations of different kinds today, and that people have come back on other days with not really enough information about when we were reconvening and having to leave, graduation parties for granddaughters, things like that early when they could have stayed longer. Do you have an idea of how much notice you'll be able to give us before we reconvene?
Representative Krisha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members, I don't have any notice. I know that we're in the final stages of the weekend and things can be very fluid, so we'll certainly do the very best we can and make sure we get the information out.
Representative Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Krisha, I really appreciate any phone calls, texts, as much information as you can give us so that people can plan accordingly. We would really appreciate that.
Representative Krisha moves a recess to the call of the chair for approximately 60 minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The House is in recess to the call of the chair for approximately 60 minutes.